Okay. All right. So this evening we are going on an 83, what I consider 83-year journey into one of the great political parties of our time, the People's National Party. This is a party, Jamaicans, because we live with it, we curse it, we go crazy over it, and sometimes not realize how other people outside of Jamaica look at the People's National Party. Other countries have modeled themselves or their parties off the People's National Party. And the party has seen some real glory days, I'm sure in the time of Norman Washington Manley. I used to see him as a kid on his, it's not just a soapbox, they used to actually build these big stages and they would go up there. I saw Bustamante and I saw, it was great time back then, late 60s, 70s, to see these guys in their, in action. But the party has gone through several changes. And I've called on somebody I think I have a lot of respect for him for his time in the party, how young he started. And I want to say, I'm going to ask you to give us a little bit of your biography. Tell us about yourself for a minute. I know you started this thing from you were in school and all that. That's from as far back. I'd like to hear that, so people can know who they're talking to.
So Stafford, thank you for inviting me to speak. Good night to all your viewers. And I'm going to be very brief because if I'm to give you like a background, it might take too long. If you grew up in Jamaica in the 1960s, there's a lot of contradictions. We were supposed to be an independent country, but the social injustice issues, the equity issues, the police brutality, the discrimination, the whole Black Power thrust, the anti-Rastafari, just the whole question of still a colonial society. And many young people were either involved in Black Power, Rastafari, funk politics, criminal activity, and very few in mainstream politics. You remember there was a newspaper called A Bang?
Yes.
And it was elected, it says swap black dog for monkey.
Yeah.
Right? And young people were turned off from politics. It's the Walter Rodney riots. We had witnessed all of those things happening. I could spend a lot of time speaking about that environment, but I won't do that tonight. But being at school, we got an invitation from Michael Manley to go meet with him.
What school? I
was at Jamaica College, sixth form. I had been in lower six.
So you met Dr. Peter Phillips there when he was just Peter Phillips?
Well, when I went to board, Peter Phillips was my dormitory manager in 1963.
Okay.
Known Peter from Hardy House, which was the name of the house we were in, from boarding school days. Obviously, he was a third former. I was a first former. Big boy to me at that time. Right? So, having said, he was actually a fourth former, and I was a first former. Right? But going forward, so in 1969 we met with Michael Manley, mainly KC boy. A couple of people from Excelsior, a couple of people from JC, predominantly KC. KC was down the road from PNP headquarters, which was 25 South Camp Road. And that is where the YO, this present YO, the genesis of the YO started. And as a part of that, 72 won the election. By 73, some of us have been purged out of the YO, saying we were either too radical or too communist. There was no proper trial. When the PNP declared democratic socialism in 74, I was very cynical. I had to be literally pulled back in. I didn't trust the PNP's democratic socialism, right? But I got involved, and later I became very involved in the YO, and by 1977 I was chairman of the YO. We lost the 80 elections. I was part of that rebuilding process, part of the party secretariat, won in 89, right? Became a regional chair in 95 Region 3, and then became GenSec. In between that, professionally, I've been involved in the security industry, investigations, playing around with some real estate, dropped out of university 3 different times. And that is it, basically.
So you said you were fearful of the democratic socialism. What was your thing? I mean, were you influenced by your father, or who influenced you?
My father was a right winger. You know, I had excellent relationship, but he was a very conservative right.
I wish you had a picture of him, your father.
Another occasion, but my mother,
Right.
who
I used to see him, you know. I used to see him,
Yeah,
the well-dressed gentleman, always dressed in a full suit.
On Duke Street.
Mm-hmm.
Later became president of the Bar Association and all that. Very right-wing, very conservative. We enjoyed a good relationship. My mother was very progressive, right? Much more progressive views. But my brother and I had started reading Kwame Nkrumah. I had to get in the literature from China. All that was banned, Peking Review, China Reconstruct, right? So we were exposed to all those things. My mother had exposed us to Marcus Garvey. You know, she had known Amy Jakes, right? My mother gave me Black consciousness, although she was very light-skinned.
Amy Jakes was a light-skinned woman too.
I know.
I used to play in our yard, actually, on Jake's Road.
Yeah, I know the yard. I know the yard. Right? So, and then the rest is really history. You know, at the time, growing up in Rockford, a community which had a lot of lower income people, Rastafari from Warwicker Hills, that interrelation, interconnection. A lot of my JC Sixth Form colleagues went into 12th Tribe. I never joined 12th Tribe, but certainly I joined up with Ethiopian World Federation, Charter 15, because we considered repatriation to Africa. Because we didn't see justice in Jamaica. And it wasn't a Jamaica for Black people, it wasn't a Jamaica for poor people. I certainly did not come from a poor family. I could see it, I could feel it. Friends were from lower income situations. Right? So that is how we got involved. But the democratic socialism, we were far left of PNP.
Oh, in that regard, because I was wondering about that. Yes. Okay.
We were far left of. In fact, when I came back into the YO in 1975, no less than a person, somebody I have great love and respect for, enjoyed a great relationship with him over the years. DK Duncan had interrogated me to make sure I was not a communist. I'm not a communist. I've been Marxist influenced, but never been. I didn't think that communism was applicable, appropriate, practical for Jamaica, where we were. Right? But that's not anti-communist. I understand communism as a liberation movement in Europe at the time it came.
Yes.
But certainly, we and the PJ had fundamental issues. Right? But I was far left of what? The PNP. And we understood it was a journey. It would take time for PNP, which is a multi-class party, really become even a social democratic party, or not for social democracy. So we accepted democratic socialism as an interim step towards building a socialist society. And I'll make it clear, socialism and private sector are not a contradiction. We did our marketing badly. We got confusion. You can have an active, vibrant private sector making profit. But the socialism we were speaking of was a non-capitalist path of development, which at that time that was also possible because there was a socialist world, which doesn't exist now. There are socialist countries. And there was Comic-Con, there was talk about the non-aligned movement, there was talk about South-South trade, there was talk about South-South collaboration. Those went away with the shift in the 80s with the Axis, the Kohl, the Thatcher, the Reagan, the advent of globalization, the collapse of the Soviet Union. So it's a different world.
It was a very exciting period in the 70s, late 60s, 70s, very exciting.
It was. We got turned back though.
Exactly, and even more so now. So you were, after a while, of course, you left school and what? You moved, you joined the party, you joined the PNP party. How did you?
I got involved before I left school.
Mm-hmm.
Actually became a former member of the youth committee.
Okay, it wasn't the youth, it wasn't the YO at that time.
No, we didn't launch the YO, but there was a youth committee. And I'm actually a member of the youth committee.
And you were a president of the YO?
Well, I had a president, but a national chairman.
Well, you were that person at one time.
I succeeded Louis Castro. Louis Castro, then Sefton Johnson, who became a senator, minister of government, then I came along.
How old were you at that time when you joined the YO?
I'd have been 17.
17, I know, you were pretty a kid.
No, maybe 16.
Yeah.
16, 17.
Okay.
Because by the time JC in June 1970, I had just turned 18.
Okay, cool. So based on that experience and yourself, and you were an activist, you're actively involved in the politics of the country. Some people have come to see politics as an evil demon, not realizing or how important, maybe not realizing how important it is, that politics is what dictates, life in a country like Jamaica. Not necessarily to become a partisan person, but to understand the politics and be able to make the right decisions in election. How do you see these young people now compared to yourself?
All right, so there's good, bad, and ugly in the politics. And young people, like how I was, very distrustful, very cynical. And if the bad and ugly supersedes the good, or what they perceive as the bad and ugly supersedes the good, then the politics to them is about what they can get immediately from it. It's transactional.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because we have to look to ourselves. The PNP has offered to the Jamaican people something I've said, a choice between Pepsi Cola and Coca-Cola. Very little difference, right? So when they look at both, there is really no fundamental difference in terms of policy direction. Yes, we can brand one as more corrupt. We can say we are more progressive, but fundamental, So I believe that a party has to discover who and what it is, right? And that has to evolve. That can't stay static. Whether you like the Jehovah's Witness or not, stand for. Can you see one of them? They know who and what they stand for. Why they don't celebrate public holidays. They know why they don't celebrate birthdays. They know why they don't believe in blood transfusion, right? They know why they don't sing the national anthem. They all have a biblical verse to go back to. Talk to a Seventh-day Adventist, you can't convince him that the Sabbath does not fall on a Saturday, right? And that is a day God gave his followers to worship the Sabbath. Academic issues to me not important, but the PNP has to determine who and what we are. In too many instances in the PNP, there's too much confusion about that. You get 10 different answers from 10 different people. You get situations where ambition has replaced commitment, right? You have the real politics. That means Ralph Brown and Margaret Taylor, many of those grassroots politicians could not be MPs today because of the sheer expense to run an election campaign. It takes millions, even in a strong PNP seat or a strong JLP seat, much less a marginal seat. So the politics has changed completely.
So based on that now, we see where people are being settling for, they get 10,000 Jamaican dollars, which when I convert it to $64, and they sell their votes for $64. Where do you think we're going with this?
There's no future in it, but let me say this to Stanford, honestly. Some of them feel that's all they can get from the politics, right? And people have become very individualistic, the I mentality. People see that they have to get their careers in order to succeed. Success to many people is about your quality of life, your standard of living. I'm not blaming them, whether the kind of house you live in, the kind of car you drive, of quality of life. So what you can get for yourself is what is important. People have never seen themselves getting anything from politics. So they have offered 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. They have received something for something. But I want to go a little further. The PNP has to be very honest towards itself about this issue. Because you can't criticize, condemn, castigate if you allow the same thing to happen within your party. And it's allowed to happen in too many instances over too long a period within the People's National Party. We have to be very honest to ourselves about some of the deficiencies, some of the ethics that obtains in the party today. You would never send me your vote for even $100,000.
Nope.
But somebody who has to deal with the reality, no job, children to feed, right? Hopeless, and gets an opportunity for 20,000, which I can say 1 or 2 weeks of living with, is a completely different situation.
So you think that is an indictment on the system itself? And who would you say is more, I kind of want to keep to the PNP.
It's not, let me tell you, Stafford, it's not important which party put in more bogus votes in the 60s and 70s. Important to me, which party started the violence and who killed more people. I take a position, it is wrong. It's wrong for the PNP to do it. Norman Manley would turn in his grave. Michael Manley would oppose it. Portia opposed it. PJ opposed it, and Peter Phillips opposed it. But I will say in the last 25 years, opposition was not enough. We did not do enough to stamp it out, right? We did not do, and we allowed that cancer to take place in the PNP. I have to just say, we have some work to do within our party. And it has to do with the philosophy of the party and a political education program for people in the PNP to know who and what we are. What are the principles we stand for? What is our political platform? And what is our personal ethics as party members?
Are you still there, Paul?
I am.
Okay. Because I'm getting a thing to say it wasn't coming over on Facebook. So I am trying to do what I can here to get it to go. I probably didn't click a button.
All right.
So
I think it'll be live stream again. So I think meeting is now live stream on Facebook.
Right. It didn't go up. I think it got knocked off somewhere along the line. And I was thinking, but it's okay. I know I'm recording it on my side. So yes. What is this?
I was saying Stafford very quickly.
All right. So we will be live stream.
I think you have to turn down. You're getting feedback.
No, live stream on Facebook. Right. It didn't go up. I think it got knocked off somewhere along the line. And I was thinking, but it's okay. I know I'm recording it on my side. So yes. What is this? All right. So I was saying Stafford very quickly. All right. So you have to turn down. Yes, I heard. I'm going to turn on my volume. Okay. Is it any better? You're not getting that feedback?
Very much lower, but you really have to mute.
Let me mute it and see. I don't know if I'm going to hear. Go, let me see where I'm hearing. Go ahead.
All right. I was saying that if he has to know who and what they are, we have to know our own ethics of how we operate. Because with the vote bank, we have some fundamental contradictions within our own party, and we have to address this in the party. It doesn't matter who started it, who does more. That is not my concern. My concern is that the PNP has to stop it from within the party because it is a cancer.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's jump fast forward because we spent some time, in that initial thing of trying to learn about who Paul Burke is. My concern is that you have to stop it. Okay, so now we are in where we are now. Fast forward because we spent some time, in that initial thing of trying to learn about who Paul Burke is. The Zoom Facebook thing still seem like it still needs some work because I know there's a problem where you get a feedback and all that kind of stuff.
No, because you have on your phone too.
Oh no, no. Funny enough, it's not on. But I'm going to turn the phone. I don't want to turn it off because some people touch on this, and it's somebody who just told me that they weren't hearing anything. So. Seems like it still needs some work because I know there's a problem with feedback and all that kind of stuff. No, because you have on your phone. Oh, no, funny enough, it's not on, but I'm going to turn the phone. I don't want to turn it off because I'm touching this. And it's somebody who just told me that they weren't hearing anything.
So you're getting a delayed recording.
Yeah, they did. They do say they said there was a 20-second delay in the recording.
Yes.
Yes.
But you're getting that delayed recording feedback on the Zoom platform.
Yeah, that is something because since we're there already, we have to kind of work around it now because there's nothing we can do about it at this time. Yeah, they did. They do say. They said there was a 20-second delay in the recording. Yes. But you're getting that delayed recording feedback on the Zoom platform. Yeah, that is something because since we're there already, we have to kind of work around it now because there's nothing we can do about it at this time.
Stafford, it's going to create a problem. I do not know. There's a problem on the Facebook page. Right.
Oh, you know what? Let me go to Facebook and see. Maybe it's playing. I'm going to knock out Facebook.
No, you can't.
No, we are not using, I'm saying not on Zoom. It's going to create a problem. I do not know about the Facebook page. No, it's on Facebook. You know what? Let me go to Facebook and see. Maybe it's playing. All right, let's. We are not. I'm saying not on the. I hear what you're saying. It's on Facebook. I'm going to take out that. Zoom. All right, are you there, Paul?
I'm here and I see recording live on Facebook still.
Yes, I know what happened. It was, I had the Facebook on the screen and it was playing. I think it was feeding back. So now I got rid of that. Yes. Okay, let's see if we can get back on track. So now with where we are now, it's pretty strange days that we're in right now. What do you think about what is going on now with the way the party is, from the party itself, which some polls have come out, not that I have a whole lot of respect for these polls, but it is what it is. And you don't want to sound like, like a spoiled sport because it's not going your way. You think it's not, you don't want to hear it. But sometimes these guys, they go about it so in such an awful way that, you know, it's just so obvious that it's a lot of biases there. So, but from your perspective, when we are seeing this, and maybe we need to be doing some kind of polling, maybe the party need to be doing some kind of polling, or has there been any kind of poll taken in recent times?
Okay, so first of all, I ignore no polls,
Mm-hmm.
even those that are skewed and have political undertone. And I regard the present polls as having political undertone,
Mm-hmm.
but they should not be ignored,
Mm-hmm.
because there are some elements of truth that is in the polls. Anybody on the road can feel that the PNP is nowhere near what used to be its strength, right? The organization's capacity has been diminishing over the last 30 years, slowly but surely. We made an investment in the 1980s in rebuilding, reorganizing, retooling the party. We did that. We had party schools, right? We built a cadre group. But there's a law of diminishing return. A lot of those persons have retired, have passed on, have gone abroad, and it has that new set of cadres has not been replenished. The PNP needs an active, vibrant, dynamic youth organization. It cannot grow either quantitatively or qualitatively without that youth organization.
So,
and that is one of the problems that PNP has today. So the new blood, the new ideas, the new energy, many people, right, who hold on, it has nothing to do with age now, right, but hold on to backward thinking and backward ideas, still have too much influence in the party and the party leadership. And too many of them are not about building necessarily, but seeking to secure a position of leadership, not doing the grassroots work. So I end with this point on that. Yes, COVID has come. It has affected the PNP far more than the JLP, because we were an underground organization with organizational groups, communities, divisions, constituencies, and all of that has cut almost to zero. That has not affected the JLP, right? So what has happened, this has allowed the PNP even more than we should be to become a top-heavy party. And for some time, there have been too many members in the PNP who see social media not as an indispensable tool for political organization, but as a substitute for political organization. Social media is indispensable and necessary, but too many of our lazy members, right, believe it is a substitute for political organization. So the PNP has to build back its organizational capacity. And to do that, it has to be attractive. And to become attractive, it has to brand itself what it stands for. And what it says it stands for, it has to be consistent, it has to be meaningful, it has to be authentic, right? And people must believe that our leaders are trustworthy, that they say what they mean and mean what they say.
When you say this, the social media is indispensable, yes, but I get the impression that and you're not the youngest person in that party, but you somehow you have an open mind to this social media reality. not that you're even 100% there, because you're still kind of saying, well, it's indispensable, but it is not everything. Today, that's where everybody, especially during COVID, that's where everybody is residing.
That's not true. That's not true.
Nobody's in the streets.
No, I am saying to you, when you do a survey, even for what they have done for school children, there are one of people that don't have devices, don't have access to.
Oh, that's a whole different story.
No, it is. It is. Right? And as you go age-wise up, my mother is 91. For her Wi-Fi every day to go on her internet or Facebook, Twitter account. I understand that. I am saying that organizational ground politics, although disrupted by COVID, is critical to a political organization. And I'm saying long before COVID, Stafford, there were people who believed that social media was a replacement and a substitute for groundwork. I am saying it's an important and indispensable tool, but groundwork, going on the ground, meeting people, building organizations, using social media to complement it, is a way that we need to go. Now, there's some people who ignore social media to their peril.
Right.
Stupidity.
Yeah. But then you said that it affects the PNP more. I mean, I don't know. It is.
No. I said not being able to do our groundwork because the GLP does not really build community organization. The PNP have between 4,000 and 5,000 community groups. Those did over the year, long before COVID.
But is it then maybe that, and what I know the children, it's affecting children in a very bad way. And they need to, they need interaction, social interaction to grow. So they're a different situation. I'm talking about the party now, who most of the people who I know, and this is how I even got to this point of saying, you know what, let me try and cut through some of the noise and see if I can, quiet the room down and start to listen to some people. And I thought you were a good place to start. That's where the action is every day, 24/7. Sometimes people don't sleep. I'm a person who goes to sleep very late. And if I go on my phone, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, people are there texting back and forth and discussing politics. And there are some very strong groups out there who are actively waiting for leadership, but everybody is hiding. Why?
No, we're not disagreeing. We're not disagreeing, Stafford. Stafford, I've had to come up with so many WhatsApp groups, right? I don't even pay. If I have to follow social media, I do no other productive work.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I understand. I am saying to you, when you look even in the People's National Party, to have a meeting, and I've had a Zoom account for probably from last year, January, just as it was coming in the introductory. And we have a lot of Zoom meetings in another organization I'm involved in, the Ganja Growers and Producers Association, a lot of meetings. But it's to communicate, not to organize. That is to inform, not to organize. Dealing with strategy and have to listen to people to organize at a local level. One, then people are reluctant to discuss things on Zoom for obvious reasons, or any other platform, whether it's Skype or GoToMeetings or Teams. Secondly, a lot of our members at the community level don't have access to Wi-Fi. They buy data, which is rather expensive. I am now saying to you that many people can't attend the meetings. But more than that, I can tell you, the energy you get from a room full, the cut and thrust, the debate, the passion, right? The feeling, the body language, the emotion, right? You cannot get that.
No, I'm not going to agree with that one.
Right? Hold on.
No,
so you have never been to some of our meetings.
No, I agree, and that it was very good, but the reality now is
I
that
find
we're not
myself
gonna
running a
be,
meeting.
we're not gonna, I'm not saying, you know where I would agree with you, if there was no COVID and we were living our lives normally and we were.
No, Stafford.
Mhm.
Stafford.
Mhm.
Agree that this is an option that has to be used now.
Yes.
I agree with that.
Yes.
We used to meet every month as a Ganja Growers and Producers Association. We now have meetings and 2 or 3 times in some weeks on Zoom. We understand, accept that. I am saying to you, with the political work, it has suffered a lot because 1, accessibility, 2, confidentiality, 3, the debate, the passion, the body language, the fraternity, all of that, you cannot capture on Zoom.
Yes, and I agree with that. And I've been, I don't know how many people are now tuning into this. Some might have gotten thrown off by the problem I had, with the recording at first. But people were very responsive to the idea and they want to hear. So while we're here where we are now, I want to go even further to say, people, I want to point it out to you that you have to be very mindful that people are, they don't know what to do. They can't go out to go to these meetings. They need to hear what is happening. I want you to tell me, what do you think can be done to get the PNP party back on track? Because it is a fractured party right now. And do you think, let me add this to it, do you think the party is dead, it's on life support, or just sick at home? What's going on with it?
All right, so I told you before I came on,
Mm-hmm.
we have done a lot of symposiums on virtual platforms.
Okay, yes.
And we had one about the Progressive Manifesto before we came on.
Mm-hmm.
Understand the need. And it was a very good symposium.
Mm-hmm.
And in one way, it is very practical. People don't have to find transportation, they get home safe. We don't have to rent a venue. We don't have to buy refreshments. So on one stage, there's an economics too. And even when this pandemic is done, virtual meetings are not going away.
I don't think so either. So
it can't, because before, when there were conferences and conventions, I used to miss a lot because you have to fly physically to them, right? You have to go physically. I mean, as at the Africa CARICOM day, watching it, I joined out to the fora in Cuba, right? Ganja forums in California, Arizona, conferences, right? So virtual meetings will not go away. And it's a good thing for education, for information, right? Absolutely essential.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not trying to replace it, right? So coming back to the PNP. So PNP is not on life support, but PNP has to do serious introspection. It's not a new view. I said that on December 13th as General Secretary, right? 3 months before the electoral defeat, that PNP had to do a lot of introspection as to who and what we are. The party president, Mark Golden, has appointed, I think, a very good candidate, Professor Tony Burke, not because I'm a professor before his name, but because of his work in the PNP, right? In the 80s, in the 90s with Michael Manley. And somebody who is current to political thought, what is possible for political parties. So the first thing is that PNP has to find its direction. The philosophy of the party has nothing to do with the party's ideology. The party has long stopped flirting with democratic socialism, right? And for good and bad reasons, right? And we should not call ourselves a democratic socialist party because we are not a democratic socialist party. That's another discussion. But our philosophy in 1938, we were established as a people's party. And Norman was very clear. And we took up the principles of egalitarianism. That was equal opportunity for all Jamaicans, regardless of class, color, creed, status in life. Equal opportunity.
But let me ask you.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Do you think this present leadership is of that mindset to care about the have-nots? Do you think this person is the right person? I mean, yes.
No, I'm talking about leadership now, not one person. I think the party cares, but it is not consistent. There are contradictions. It is not reinforced, right? We are not always collectively united around it, right? So some testing times are coming for the PNP, right? It's not just about this leadership. It's not about this trajectory the PNP is on. It's not a new trajectory. It has been going along that trajectory and has not been able to deal with the issue. How do we remain a progressive party? Support a vibrant private sector, but not be hostage to that private sector. And therefore, our policies must be skewed to the majority of people. And there's no escape from the word. And this is not racism. The majority of people who are Black, who are poor and vulnerable, are Black complexion people in this country. That is a hard socio-economic fact. And it is their quality of life, because they are the most vulnerable, they are poor, and part of it is the system, part of it is individual choices, part of it is lack of opportunity, but the society cannot grow, leaving so many Jamaicans so far behind, their children far behind educationally. They're living in some very poor conditions, and the criminal situation that plagues those communities. It is an unacceptable situation, and that is what the People's National Party has to address.
But let me say this now. Back in the 70s, when Michael Manley was there, the people weren't anymore, they weren't not more wealthy or had anything more than the present generation. But Michael Manley inspired those people. I saw Jamaica produce food at a level unprecedented. I don't even think even Cuba, which, you know, has the cooperative system and everybody worked, I don't think Cuba produced, you know, in 1 year the amount of food just by the inspiration that Michael Manley brought to people.
Eat what you grow and grow what you...
Remember, you would drive down Hartford Tree Road and you'd see carrots pile high. Remember, he had to start the AMC, Agricultural Marketing Corporation, to take some
and the factory.
So it's just saying to me that you need leadership or a leader who can inspire the people. You can't just want to get this job because it's your prime minister and you can go around and, you know, maybe you want to wear your flip-flop, you know, all day long in your shorts and think you look cute and try to dance. I'm saying people want somebody to inspire them, because people stop farming, we're supposed to be eating. I see Damian Crawford came up with the idea of goat rearing. People laughed at him. And, you know, it was just this bad scene that people were missing the point, that if we would start producing for ourselves, you're talking about $1 billion when he was looking at it for goat meat alone. And I watched where they're taking out 1,000 acres of farmland to put buildings on it. You cannot get those lands back. And I'm saying, if you had a leader who, and I'm talking about on both sides now, if you had a leader who didn't come about and say to people, oh, it's okay for a man to own a big house, not too many people would be hell-bent on shooting up people and killing people so they can get the money to go buy a big house. You know, but if you had said, hey, let's see how we can feed ourselves again, stop depending on people. We're wasting all of this money. We could build more hospitals, we could build more schools, we could have a better transport system, all of that. What do you think, you know, where do you see this? Are you in favor of, say, the present leader of the opposition, Mark Golding? What do you think of him and where do you see this going?
I believe that anybody who leads the PNP has to fix the PNP first, right? The PNP has to be fixed for the PNP to try and find.
But it can't fix itself. Somebody has to start it.
No. The party has that resilience and capacity to fix itself, right? The leader makes a fundamental difference. I support the view, I've been saying it for years, that it starts with who and what you are. The PNP has to determine who and what we are. It is a fundamental issue, but we're going to attract people, but we're going to become a mass democratic party, but we're going to pretend to be a party that represents all interests equally, which is impossible to do, right? So it has a fundamental issue. I want to say this, Stafford. When Michael Manley was president, he had a party that was as strong as his lieutenants. He had Tony Spalding, P.J. Patterson, and Howard Cook. He had strong leaders supporting him, right? We need to build that leadership cadre. Let me tell you what happened to us. Let me be very frank. We depended too much on personal popularity. Portia was a great leader. She cared. But the PNP got away just because of her popularity. People accepted certain leaders who were not performing. People voted for leaders who they normally not vote for because of Portia's popularity. And yes, we lost 2 elections while Portia was there. But I can tell you, we'd have lost them worse, far worse.
We have seen it.
The leader of the People's National Party.
And it's going to get worse.
It's going to get worse, but it is 1 step backwards for 2 steps forward.
All right, so now.
One is just symbolic, maybe a dozen steps back.
So
I want to make this point quickly. You are correct. Many Jamaicans are not impressed with the leadership being provided by the PNP or the leader of the party, right? And remember, he is leading a party, as you said, is fractured, it is divided, not only on personality issues of who support a rich candidate, on political thinking, on philosophical thinking, on ideological thinking, on personal ambitions, right? Or there's no glue of government to hold the party together. When you're in government, you know, people find more reasons to stick together than to fall apart.
So let me sit down. So we see the present leader, when he was coming, he was one of the leaders, in that group of people who undermined Dr. Peter Phillips. And you see the WhatsApp leak, which accounts for that. And we heard that he apologized. He might have apologized in some closed door meeting, but the country didn't hear it because what they did was they denied the country a fair chance of getting somebody who would have given us a way better deal than we are getting now. So they destroyed that. And so what do we do with all of this wrongs, these nefarious activities that they carried out to tear down the party? They destroyed the party. They actually undermined the party. They undermined Peter Phillips. They undermined the party. They went out campaigning, out in the field campaigning. This is why the PNP, a lot of people not speaking the truth, but the reason why some of them even threw away the seats because they thought a shorter distance to Jamaica House was through the destruction of Peter Phillips. We know this now, but what is there?
I want to
let me just finish this. What is there? What kind of structure is there in the PNP that can deal with that situation? And
I want to establish some context. Most of what you said is absolutely accurate, but there's context to everything. So after we lost East Portland and Bloomfield died at a very bad time, we were looking to replace Bloomfield to find an attractive candidate because we realized that East Portland was in problems. We realized that. We made some tactical mistakes there, right? And we lost. We got more PNP votes to vote for Damon Crawford. But I can tell you, that was a BUY election.
Mm-hmm.
A flat screen TV in courts, not a jar stove, singer in Port Antonio. Things were bought out totally. But we made some tactical mistakes. The party went into panic. And it is not that there was a contest that was the problem. It's how the contest was conducted, right? Because people are right to contest for leadership. Some people felt at that time, rightly or wrongly, that Dr. Peter Phillips was unelectable. And they said it openly. Being concerned, if the PNP should win, that those very same statements would boomerang against the party. And quite a few people crossed the line in how that election was conducted. And there was vote buying. And it doesn't matter which side did more, but there was blatant and vulgar vote buying, right? And so the party got internal wounds, some deliberately, some unintentional, but wounds. Right? Now, one of the things I always remember is when PJ won. Granted, he won by a much greater majority, but how he treated Portia Simpson. He was magnanimous. What he said the night, right? None of us knew about a COVID coming, but that first night and the following days were mishandled. Not regardless of all the nastiness that went on. As a leader, you have to do certain things if you want to unite the party. So you are correct. There was a campaign, both whispering first against Dr. Peter Phillips. There was a campaign, open and blatant, against Dr. Peter Phillips. But even worse than that, whatever the intentions were, was a letter by 14 MPs to meet with him. It sounded like it was a veiled threat to many people. And it made it clear that the party was far from united. There was that whole period of COVID that created that uncertainty, and the JLP maximized their PR, gave thousands of people money through the state and through their JLP organization. We ran a bad campaign, the advertisement. I was not impressed with them. And we lost. But the whole of the defeat cannot be attributed to the contest. Right? Also, unfortunately, Dr. Phillips got ill. And again, some people in the PNP acted gleefully. Time for him to resign this. Many Jamaicans don't understand that cancer is not like it was in the 60s or 70s or 80s.
Exactly.
You get cancer and you can still get treatment, live and perform. Right? But to them, cancer was a death sentence out of ignorance based on information. And therefore, we went into our election with a lot of handicaps. We couldn't match the jail period money, right? But you are correct. One of the factors that hurt us was that whole campaign against the president of the People's National Party, Dr. Peter Phillips. And I'll tell you quickly, I believe that persons involved, people make mistakes, there was need for public apology. Now, if I caused an offense, right, there should have been genuine, authentic apologies and lay that at rest. And it should have been done right after. But I believe the leader, honestly, regardless of all the nastiness, should have invited the opponent and said, look here, in the interest of the party, we need to work together. I think that period was badly handled.
All right. So they got away with it because obviously there's no body in the party. And when I say there's no structure, no agency within the party to call for or to inflict something.
No, that wasn't the reason why. Can I tell you? When you realize how divided the party was, if you are to carry to a disciplinary committee of the party, and there were grounds to carry to a disciplinary committee of the party, it would have further divided. And you know that an election was due within 2 years. You had lost East Portland, you had lost Southeast St. Mary before. You couldn't afford to divert energy, attention. So you were caught in a trap. You were caught in a trap. So, today there's a unity committee set up by Mark Gordon that has 3 members from each of the team, chaired by Maxine, and it has made some tangible progress.
But don't you think that Mark Gordon should have been asked to step back, step away, because this is what is causing the division in the party, because people saw what he did. Every day, we see it every day. We see the WhatsApp leaks. We saw one recently.
And you know, Stafford, you are correct about one part. They should have spoken to the WhatsApp leaks because they are not, what is there was said, but it has been edited, it has not been in context. And let me say this to you. Everybody who had ambitions in the party has formed groups. Let me tell you, I am not justifying it. When I was regional chair, I documented it. I singled out Portia Simpson Miller and Peter Phillips in a written report for the groups and paper groups they were forming. That was that was 2003, right? It is documented there. It's not something I'm saying in 2021. It has been going on, unchecked, unstopped. It's just who the more. So the fact that me and your thief and me get caught and you don't get caught and you catch my information doesn't mean you are doing it, you know. I might be thieving more than you, right? But both sides were forming paper groups. I can say that categorically. I can say that without anybody contradicting me. One side, while one side was more focused on a national election, another side seemed to be more focused on forming groups. But don't you believe for a second, don't pretend about it. Both sides were forming groups.
All right, so let me know, and that's a good point for me to kind of just divert a little. It's not really even divert, take it to a place that I want to go. We know that you recently did something, you did served an audit of the youth movement, the PNPYO, and you came up with a damning report where it was found where there were this paper group thing that had resulted in some people getting elected, and they should have been put out after it was discovered, but they were kept because some people were afraid that the person was going to squeal, bawl out, and the person has been left in place. And so what I want to know from you is, after finding out of the PNPYO, where are we now with the general PNP? Have you started any investigation into the general?
Yeah. Let me get the facts clear. The executive committee of the party, and I was surprised when I was asked me if I'd audit some YO groups. And I agreed to. And they established a team, not me. They established a team to work with me to audit the groups. And we came back with a report. We know this is who formed the group, who they supported.
And that was good, because it opened eyes to say,
yeah. It doesn't matter. These groups that we were asked to audit was not all the groups we were asked to audit, but the ones that came in or were supposed to come in late, we audited them. It was scandalous. I did not say that before. I've reported to the executive because I would not talk before. When the media asked me, I said, talk to the general secretary. But since it's come out public, I have said it. I do not know what the party's position is on auditing groups, right? That is not, I never got that responsibility. Secondly, I don't know what the decision is going to be for the YO, how they're going to go forward, right? They're supposed to have a Congress, right? Some actions have been taken. And I don't believe the party is, okay, there were some email things about bones uncovered. And let me tell you, I believe that is foolishness. And that was challenged, right? And I believe the party will have to address the situation in a principled manner very shortly. I do not know what's going on behind the scenes. I've asked no questions, but I know they have to find people who the YO can trust for it to go forward.
So that would be the YO to take care of that.
No, it's not the YO. The party is going to have to intervene in a principled basis. Right?
And I'm saying not just...
No, I want to make one last comment. I do not know who put in. I was not asked to find out who tried to put in those groups. I was asked to audit the groups, not to investigate and who was responsible.
And I hear it, and that was good, and it brought good results, ugly as it is. But to say, is there something in play to do it for the general party? A right of
the Constitution requires it, and I want to suspect that come the new political year, my own view, it would have been good had it been done during this political year. But I want to suspect, because the Constitution requires it, that it will be done in the new political year. Okay. Because the PNP needs it. We cannot have a fraudulent organization, which is the basis of us saying is our capacity. It exists in many instances. What you have is a paper organization. And here I'm not saying any state secrets. I'm not saying anything that is treacherous. It is known by the leadership of the People's National Party that a significant amount of our groups are non-existent.
And so with that will have to be cleaned up before.
And this did not start last year. It did not start with the contest with Mark Golden and Lisa Hanna. It did not start with the contest with Mark Golden and Peter Phillips. It has been there for a long, long time.
So do you think it's going to be a stop is going to be put to it finally?
The leadership has no choice. They have to build a real organization. There's no other way, right? The organization capacity of the PNP has been exposed. The most daunted, strongest organization has been totally shattered. So we have no choice but to build a modern organization, whether it is groups, whatever, a modern political organization with real capacity, motivated people, committed people, party workers who believe in a vision that the party must share. The party must have a vision, and the policy we pursue must be about making that vision a reality. And I've already said to you, if that vision is not predominantly around addressing the economic and social needs of the probably lowest 40% of the Jamaican income people, lower income people who live in communities who are plagued by criminal activities, right? And yes, some of them contributed, all that is true, right? But I want to say this, Stafford, the fact is that the people who are battering this country, all of us are Black people regardless of our complexion.
Of course.
I know a Black man.
Yes.
Regardless of my complexion. But the people who are battering this country so happen to be the Black pigmented people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And after slavery being abolished 1838, after 1938 riots, after 62 independence, such a situation is untenable and unacceptable in Jamaica.
So, Paul, as a former socialist, progressive socialist, maybe you said not democratic, but a bit left of.
No, I'm not a former socialist. The PNP is not a socialist party. And I'm saying socialism is a policy that the economy of the country must be used predominantly to address the social and economic needs of all the people.
But then,
and not be subjected to minority interests.
But do you think then that a capitalist-minded, a declared, avowed capitalist can be the one to bring about this concern and empathy for the very poor, the Black, jet black skinned people? A person, can that person bring about the, because we're talking about some serious change. We're talking about some Michael Manley style change that is needed in Jamaica now. You think these guys can do that?
All right, I'm glad you said guys, because you seem to think, I believe in collective leadership. I'm not into this one-man leader thing, but I believe in 1976, 77, when I was chairman of the YO, if I said I was promoting social democracy, I would expel myself, right? I'm serious, because I was not at that time prepared to accept social democracy, right? I believe social democracy, which I don't really regard as socialism, quite frankly, or the predominant thinking and ideology of Socialist International, right? I think social democracy is a fundamental step forward for both PNP and Jamaica. And I happen to believe that the present leader,
the
present leader,
the social democrat.
Hold on, let me repeat again. I happen to believe that the present leader, Mark Gordon, believes in democracy, believes in social justice, believes in empowerment, and I know he does not believe in neoliberalism. Because he and I have discussed it. I know that he does not believe in neoliberalism as an economic model. So I want to be very practical as to the steps the PNP and Jamaica can take in this global world, in this economic climate where Jamaica is, the political thinking, the dependence that we cannot go at war again with the United States of America. We can have differences, but never go in a hostile, antagonistic situation. Because I can tell you, if the American government was to lock off remittances to Jamaica like what they do to Cuba, there'll be social riots in Jamaica. There'll be protests in Jamaica. There'll be starvation in Jamaica. The biggest foreign exchange earner in Jamaica now are the remittances out of Canada, United States and UK. And United States being about, I understand, 80% of that. So I understand the realities that face us. And I'm speaking as a person who is still on a banned list to go to the United States. And I'm not affected by it because I don't need a US visa. But I'm still persona non grata from the 70s and on a banned list to the United States. So I understand that very clearly, very loudly.
All right. So so now we're realizing that part of the problem that led up to this problem with the party is this paper group thing. How do you feel about a general kind of election, a general election for members or supporters of the PNP to elect, not use that delegates thing that has, that the party has used over these years, which has led up to where it is right now? How do you feel about having like a general, like we do in America, a primary, to elect the leader?
So that resolution,
instead of 3,000 people, 50,000.
Totally. That resolution first went in front of the PNP in 2005 and then 2006, and could not get the kind. You need 2/3 majority of the party membership, right, to make a constitutional change. Fortunately today, it has the support of Peter Phillips, former party president. It has the support of Peter Bunting, former Hearty president aspirant. It has the support of Lisa Hanna, former party president aspirant. And it has the support of Mark Golding. And I think it has support across the party, and it is the only way forward for the PNP. I believe by next year conference 2022, that will be a reality for the People's National Party.
Do you think the party will have a conference this year?
Sorry, one second. Yeah, I don't know, because a conference is being planned for next weekend, this coming weekend, right? Arena and all, social spacing, delegates and everything. That has to be canceled, right? Not canceled, postponed. But conference in whatever form, because the political year cannot end without a conference. That before the calendar year, we might have to do it in parish meetings, right? In 14 parish meetings, in halls, which we have social distancing, right? So instead of 3,000 delegates at the arena, you have 500 in Kingston in 3 spots, maybe 150 here, 200 here, 150. You have another 300 in St. Catherine in maybe 2 spots. You have another, and you really hold it in places, and that you live stream the conference. It will cost you some money, it will save you on transportation, but technology gives you the option. Although everybody will not be in the same space at the same time, and you will not get that feeling of energy of everybody coming together. But it can be done and will be done, I suppose.
So let me get this. You are not in favor of any maybe removing of the present leader of the PNP party?
Let me put it another way. I believe that the present leader needs to be given the opportunity to prove his leadership. And I'm in full support of giving him that opportunity. Let me say this. If Comrade Lisa Hanna had won, I'd have taken the very same position.
Yeah.
That once the democracy, as flawed as it is, Stafford, what we have, and I can tell you, it is flawed, right? But you have to accept, if you participate in the game, and with all the flaws, and try to make it as good as possible, right? And there's a democratic outcome. You can't, I voted. I can't then say that because somebody won, it was not my choice, I'm not supporting that person.
But it's not, it's the way it was done. It's not so much.
No, but it's the way it has been done throughout the years. It is wrong, it is flawed, it needs to be corrected.
Do you think we should, all right, so you're figuring there should be no elections for the rest of this year?
No,
And-
no. There won't be an election this year, simply because the nomination period has closed. And everybody had the opportunity, including myself, to nominate for any position. As a financial member of the party, I could have offered myself. Nobody had a gun at my head to say I could not offer myself. Nobody decided, for whatever reason, to challenge or to offer themselves also for the position of party president.
All right, so the solution.
But nobody was bad.
Yeah.
Nobody was bad.
One of the main solutions will be fixing this, getting rid of this delegates system and go to a general.
You are absolutely correct.
Right.
We did at the constituency level, we did at the divisional level for election of candidates. But again, we were plagued with a whole of fraudulent groups formed because people wanted voting strength.
All right, so with that, and those who are presently in charge, do you think, I'm gonna lose my power, do you think we can, do you think we will get to that place where we have this election? Because
Definitely. We don't have a choice, Stafford.
And how soon do you think that will happen?
By next year, 2022.
What time in next year, 2022?
September conference. I mean, COVID.
But then it has to happen before, so that if there is a need for a vote, it can take place before.
Well, two things have to happen. The groups have to be audited, genuine groups, right? And that must be done in a transparent way, that everybody can see it, feel it, and trust it. That is one. Two, if this conference this year accepts it, it becomes a constitutional provision, right? But when conference is another situation. So if this conference accepts it, it becomes a constitutional provision. That means if there is an election for September 2022, after you audit the groups, know who is real, who doesn't exist, right? You might have the party may decide that we have a 20,000 membership base. Those are genuine members, people who can be found, people who are members of the party. Those are the people who will vote.
So what if?
But I want to make one point. The party is not about as important as selecting your leadership is. Groups are never about electing a leader. Groups were established to build the People's National Party. We have forgotten that. You know what the first task of the group is? To recruit members into the party.
Yeah.
You know what the second task of the group is? For political education.
Yeah.
Quantitative, recruiting new people. Political education is qualitative. And the third thing was community outreach, even before we come to electoral politics. Community outreach came as number 3.
So let me ask you this. Can there be a special, say, between now and, because we're still in September, so it's like 1 year. Could there be some kind of special conference, special convention, something to say, let's ratify this new idea of having a new way of voting?
But all I'm saying to you,
you would be able to bring usher in whoever is the president.
But there's a conference due.
Yeah, but if you don't get this
problem, what the conference can do, there has to be a conference, you know.
Yeah, but you're gonna try to ratify.
No. There has to be a conference, right? How it is held is a matter for for the party leadership to determine, right? But there has to be a conference. That conference may or may not be able to address it, but that conference can set a special conference to deal with the constitutional provisions for next year. Again, we don't know, we are in uncharted waters with COVID. We don't know better or worse. We really don't know, do we?
All right. I'm having a little bit of...
But I'm really very happy about the questions you are asking, Stafford.
It's something I hear them every day.
No, these are real concerns out there. We should long have abandoned that delegate system for selecting party president and vice president. We should long have abandoned it.
All right, so guess what? I'm having a slight issue here, which might cause this thing to end prematurely. So I prefer to end it myself. Then it's an electrical problem.
Yeah, and Stafford, not to bore your audience, but maybe later this year or early next year, I am more than prepared to come back.
I'd be happy to have you back.
Or to come forward, as we used to say, in the YO in the 70s.
Yeah. I think this was a useful exercise. I hope I asked all the questions people wanted me to ask. I'm about to lose my power. That's why I'm looking.
Understood.
And I hope I'm pretty sure there are more questions that people would want me to ask, but we need to learn what is happening to one of, this.
So, to be continued, Stafford. To be continued.
Yes, the PNP party is an icon. It's a treasure. It's something I tell you, I know people who studied the PNP party in colleges. So, it's not just a list, nothing. It's a big party. It's well respected throughout the world, and we'd love to see the party back on track.
Thanks for inviting me, Stafford.
Thank you, Paul. We just had a good chat with Mr. Paul Burke, former General Secretary of the People's National Party. We just want to tell him thanks a million for taking time out of his leisure time, his relaxation time, Sunday evening, for coming to us. I should have asked you about, was there anything special that came out of that symposium, or it's just...
Yes, but that's another whole
different time. All right. Thank you, sir.
And thank you again.
And give my regards to your lovely wife.
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Good day. Bye.